And talking of seafood, Kenya's fishermen are worried. They say that they are running out of tuna fish. Climate change, overfishing by large vessels, and a lack of job opportunities for coastal communities draining the Indian Ocean of its yellowfin tuna stocks. Although the removal of the subsidies for large fisheries and stricter fishing catch limits have been discussed by major international regulator bodies for over a decade, conservation groups have criticized their lack of action. In the coastal town of Shimoni, south of Mombasa, scores of fishmongers and traders line the shoreline awaiting the fisherfolk's return. In this town, fishermen say that warming waters due to climate change have forced tuna species to alter their migration patterns, and this has made it harder for the local fishers to catch them.
In the old days, it was easy to catch the yellowfin tuna fish. One would catch as many as 10, unlike nowadays when it's difficult due to climate change, as well as an increase in the number of fishermen. This was not the case in the old days.
Fish stocks have also decreased due to a lack of sustainable fishing by larger vessels. The Shimoni Channel was a previously well-known place for tuna. The north and southeasterly monsoons led to substantial catches in the area. But there was relatively low rainfall in the monsoon season this year. Yellowfin tuna in particular fetches competitive prices at the market. According to Leonard Loka, a local fishmonger at Majengo Market in Mombasa, if he manages to sell 2 or 3 kilos, then he can comfortably feed his family. Experienced fishermen say that their inferior boats cannot compete with large foreign ships. Artisanal fisherfolk often lack the skills, knowledge and the financial support to compete with larger foreign vessels, mostly from Europe and Asia. These vessels use satellite tracking technologies to trace the various tuna shoals all over the Indian Ocean. Experienced fishermen say that with more young men opting for artisanal fishing due to a lack of white-collar jobs and higher education opportunities combined with climate change, livelihoods are getting depleted. Will McCallum, head of oceans at environmental group Greenpeace, has said that fish aggregating devices often catch young yellowfin tuna as bycatch.
What these devices do, they're like floating rafts that attract the fish so that they're far easier to find and capture, is they lead to very, very high levels of bycatch. And that bycatch is most often juvenile or young yellowfin tuna. So this is having a huge impact on the population of yellowfin tuna in the Indian Ocean, which is, again, having a devastating impact or potentially devastating impact on coastal communities that depend on it.
Currently, the Kenyan government is implementing an economic strategy to address the effects of climate change on the livelihoods of those on the African coast. At the global level, subsidies for large fisheries have long been blamed for destructive fishing practices. These have featured prominently at the World Trade Organization talks for over a decade with no resolution. Earlier this year, the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, that is responsible for the region's tuna regulations, was criticized for not implementing measures to protect several tuna species from overfishing. However, one of the successes of the Fisheries Commission is that they passed a landmark resolution to study the effects of climate change on tuna fish stocks in the region. This is necessary because conservation groups say that tuna stocks are increasingly in peril.
There is need for us to look at a way of properly regulating the fishing of yellowfin tuna so that we are able to have sustainable fishing in the sense that we are fishing in a way that gives them time to reproduce and be able to continue playing their role as a top predator, and for that reason maintain the balance of the ecosystem of the marine. And with that, we'll be able to support the commercial purposes as well as make sure that our ecosystem are well taken care of.
According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, climate variability has led to reduced marine stocks, shifting of the fish stocks from lower to higher latitude regions, coral bleaching, and increased risk of conflict. If immediate action is not taken, vulnerable local fishing communities will be further impacted. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.